Okay, guys, we are live. I'm Fun Show, CEO of Project Lambo. This is Iqbal, our COO, and this is Gabriel, the creator of New Spirits, which is a fantastic game. We caught up with Gabriel and we've done a great partnership with them. And we're looking forward to speaking to him more about what he's doing and what the future roadmap looks like for New Spirits. Please, Gabriel, if you want to introduce yourself and talk to us a little bit about New Spirits, we'll share screen, take a look at some of the video content, and just dive into what New Spirits is all about.
I think basically his internet is blown away, and that's why Gabriel is frozen right now.
Which is fine. It's absolutely fine.
It's the beauty of internet.
Yeah, we love a bit of internet issues. So, yeah, what we will do is we will wait for Gabriel to rejoin.
100%. What we'll do that we'll just give you guys a showcase of the amazing New Spirits gameplay. Can't go wrong with this.
If you don't have internet issues on your first 2024 live stream experience, then you're doing something wrong. You are doing something seriously wrong. Who wants a stable internet connection?
Exactly.
I mean, who wants that for 2024? Not us.
You know the game itself. Do you know what? He's back. There we go.
All good.
I don't know, man.
It's fine. It's all good. It's all good. So, yeah, we very briefly started to play a little bit of video.
Check 1, 2. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear us? Okay.
Oh, it looks like he's gone again, guys. I don't think his New Spirits are with him.
No, he needs to invoke the power of the New Spirits. But I think we should give it another 26 attempts, and then if that doesn't work, no, I think what's probably a good idea, I'm going to drop Gabriel a message on Telegram and just see if he's able to join via his phone and see if he has any issues with that. But in the meantime, if you want to carry on playing that video,
sure. I want you to go through it as well. I think
let's see.
I think the gameplay itself is available obviously on the app stores. Even while playing it, I got that Subway Surfer Temple Run sort of, how could you say it, addiction. You know, it's a game that you know how it is, etc., and you just want to keep beating your score, basically.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've played. Exactly. I've played all of the games. They've got 3 that are on there at the moment. So obviously, hang on. Let's do a quick test. Mic check. 1, 2. Gabriel, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Gabriel? I think he's still struggling to hear us. But if Gabriel, if you're able to hear us, and I'm just going to pop this in the chat here as well, you could try and...
I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Try and join.
If you can hear us, just put your left foot in the air. Okay. Or just leave straight away. That's one way. I think joining from the mobile is going to be the best way.
Yeah, indeed. Well, look, for those of you that haven't had it already, Happy New Year from all of the Project Lambo fam. We are so looking forward to this 2024. It's going to be explosive for everyone in this market. I can't wait to give you guys some big updates. But you're not getting them today, because today it's about New Spirits. So you've got to make sure you tune in for each live stream if you want to stay up to date. Either that,
and just make sure you join that Telegram for the updates, and make sure you join that Telegram to also message us and find out more and ask questions personally to us in that
Exactly.
Telegram as well. But
there
yeah,
are things that are important that everyone needs to know about a project, like how does Funcho keep that shine on his head at all times? You know, these are very important things, and you'll find out more about them in due course. And can you hear us, Gabriel? Can you hear us? See, we can see him, we just can't hear him.
That's right.
I'm
you know what they say.
What's that?
I was gonna not do a punchline. I was hoping he'd just start talking, but
I'm hoping that he will join into the audio now. Can you hear us okay, Gabriel?
It's coming through, but it's really broken. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yeah,
we can hear you perfectly. Well, I'm not sure if there's and he's gone. I think today is National Internet Problems Overseas Day.
Yeah,
because we seem just fine, but I don't know. These things happen. Look, one thing that we can do based on this is I think we should. Oh, hang on, he's back again.
I don't know, man. It's not my day.
Can you hear us now? Can you hear us now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully, we're good from here. So we can hear you. We can see you.
Hopefully
you
we're
can
over
hear us. The worst is over. We're leaving it back in 2023.
Oh my
now.
God.
It's all good.
2020.
It's all good.
We just kicked it off, right?
Yeah, it's all good fun. Don't worry. It's fine. There's always technical glitches. This is what happens when you go live. Doesn't always go 100% according to plan, but we continue because we are professionals, and that's what we do.
Persevere.
So, Gabriel, exactly. I would love for you to introduce yourself and New Spirits and talk to us all about your fantastic games and projects. Hopefully you heard us.
So, yeah, you're not coming in super clear, but yeah. I mean, I think I got the gist of the question. And it was big, New Spirits. Where do we come from, and how do we connect up with Lambo and all that? So,
Gabriel, do you want to try something without your video, maybe?
About this before.
Maybe if you just try audio only.
Yeah, I've got a feeling that might work a lot better for you as well. Do you want to try
maybe
that?
Just try maybe turn your video off and just do audio only.
We can try it without the.
Yeah. Can you hear us okay?
I can't hear you guys very well.
You can't.
I think it must be my internet connection. Let me try switching to 5G.
Yeah, let's give that a go. And anyone that's just tuned in or has been here since the beginning, any questions that you've got for Gabriel or for ourselves, please do leave them in the comments. We always answer all of the questions that are put through on these live streams. And we'll just give it a few moments for Gabriel to do that switch over and see if that makes
switched over to mobile data. Let's see if this works better.
Okay. Perfect.
So far, you guys are coming in much clearer.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay. So, yeah, do you want to kick off again? Explain who you are,
sure.
where you're from,
sure.
We'll share anything on the screen that needs to be there for you as well.
Sounds great. So I'm gonna leave my video off. Unfortunately, I think like there's some issues with connectivity here. I'm kind of in the northern part of the state, and it's internet can be pretty spotty up here.
No problem.
But
no problem
and I apologize for the voice and the throat clearing. I was down with the COVID, so but I'll try and keep this interesting and give the folks at home listening something to catch on to, and we'll have some fun with it regardless of the technical difficulties with all that other stuff. So myself, I'm a game developer. I'm used to technical glitches, so this doesn't really faze me. It's just like, okay, we launched the game and it broke on day one. Now what? Oh, we just fix it. Okay, onward and upward. We persevere, as you said, Fun Show. So I've been making games professionally for the last 13 years. I started in a local studio here in Bratislava, Slovakia, one of the largest studios in this part of the world. There are around 250 people, I think, at the moment. There were around 200 when I was there.
Awesome.
And I worked my way up through the ranks of testing, game design, project management, and that kind of stuff. And then I took a brief foray into the crypto space back in 2017, back in the ICO glory days, as a lot of people remember. Those days were crazy. I mean, lots of really cool projects were being funded, and there was lots of shenanigans, in that kind of in the wake of all that money, which is kind of what we saw here in 2021 as well. To be perfectly honest.
Agreed.
But when we started our game studio 5 years ago, we started an independent game studio here, focusing on small teams of maximum 10, 12 people, and we had up to 3 games running at any time. And the idea was to set up a game development studio that wasn't based on some sort of top-down hierarchy. It was more kind of egalitarian, more flat hierarchy, more everyone kind of was contributing on multiple fronts. And we find that that's really conducive to creativity, and what comes out of the games that you make are typically more creative in that environment. And then the other side of that was, we also wanted to, significantly compensate or reward those for participating in that. So we had a very kind of we have a really strong ESOP program, which is an employee stock option program, and there's really kind of a sharing of the successes. And while we haven't quite made that big success yet, that's kind of our goal. So New Spirits is kind of what we're here today to talk to everybody about. Was actually our first game when we started our studio 5 years ago, and as I was mentioning to Fun Show at the beginning, before we started streaming, it was actually a kind of a Lemmings-like game. It was a 2D mobile game, and it was a bit of a puzzle. You had to figure out which units to deploy when and where, and if you weren't quick enough with your thinking, your little seedlings fell off the end of the planet. And, it was quite a challenging game, even after many, many iterations of us trying to make it simple and make it mobile worthy. So we kind of gave up on it. We put it on a shelf. And back then, the motto of the game was save the Nunu, save the forest. And so we had this whole progression inside of the game where you had this kind of desiccated, dilapidated world that you are slowly bringing green life back to as you progress through the levels, through the gameplay, and through the story. And the problem with that was that, we also live in a world where we think it's pretty important to, give back to our environment as well. And at that time, I wasn't really sure how we were going to connect players directly to reforestation. And then we started working on a game for our partner in end of 2020. Well, actually, it was mid 2021. We started working on this game with a partner, and the idea to tie NFTs, this digital collection, to real trees planted in the real world was like, lightning struck my brain kind of thing. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. You could have a digital collection that's on chain, that's tied to real life, real world, and the players can then be directly involved in the planting of that tree because they hold that NFT. And so that's what we did. We set out at the end of 2021 to do this. We've been building on that for some time now, and like 2 years in, I would say it's it's been quite a challenge. Just getting the game up to a point where it's releasable, and then now we're in the iterative state, so we're trying to improve that game. We're trying to bring new things in based on community feedback, and all of that. So I mean, the big takeaway though is that we are planting trees. This isn't just like some pipe dream. We've actually planted over 20,000 trees already, which is pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
So yeah, that's kind of us in a nutshell, no pun intended. Our game is about fun, casual gameplay. We also have a bit of a co-op mindset. We want to do this together with everybody. So we're actively working on multiplayer. Hopefully we can get to multiplayer here early in this next year. And that multiplayer will be a co-op multiplayer. So you think things like Overcooked or Mario Party, where you're working together, but you're also kind of in each other's way, So you kind of you have to get somewhere and somebody's in your way. So what do? Do you dash through them to knock them out of the way, possibly derailing what they're trying to do? Or do you wait for them to move? Are you communicating well? And the better, of course, that you do that, the better, of course, your score is, and you can compete, of course, with other people outside of the game. But we wanted to keep the gameplay very not non-competitive. We wanted to keep it cooperative. And there's actually not a lot of games doing that either, so it's a nice niche.
Yeah, for sure. I think what stood out for me a great deal, based on our first ever conversation, was just how much we had in common, our level of knowledge, expertise, years in the space, and also it was like playing New Spirits. I went off, downloaded it, played all of them, and was like, okay, this is addictive. I can understand why people are going to want to play these games. They're fun. You haven't got to sit there and play it for an hour straight, but if you like that grind, you can. And I'd think as well, what massively jumps out at me, which is part of the reason why we wanted that kind of collaboration and partnership together, was the fact that you guys are trying to make a difference in the fact that each NFT that's purchased, how those trees are being planted, that's doing something good. We've got charity initiatives with what we're doing. We're trying to give back as well. And I just felt like it just fit like a glove. And also the fact that, we want to bring these cool characters into our ecosystem. There's still more conversations to obviously be had about what that's going to look like and when it's going to come. But I think that you've done a fantastic job. I really do.
Well, when we were looking at, what kind of characters we wanted to have these NFTs be, like the kind of soup du jour at the time was a PFP, and we're like, that just like, there's no utility there. There's no value in that other than like a little club ticket. And that's okay, for what it is, but we're like, you can do so much more if we do this in 3D. First of all, we can make these assets that are more complex, more interesting, get more variations. They can be animated, and then once those things are all animated together, there's a reason why he's got a wood head. It's because everything that's attached to his wood head is part of the variability of that asset. So all of the traits and stuff of the NFT are tied to that piece. And that piece is, of course, tied to the rest of the skeleton or the bones of the rig for the animation. And so we don't have to worry about, those things clipping into other things. We've designed the character specifically to be variable, but also have as full animation suite as they can. You saw in the video, they're, jumping around, dancing and having fun. A lot of those came from just our animator just on an afternoon. He was just like, I'm going to make some just fun animations of them dancing just because I want to do that. And the fact that those animations are kind of universal, they're set up for Unity, which on an FBX is quite transferable. So getting them into other metaverses is quite simple. It's quite straightforward. You know, we don't have to do any conversions from a 2D PFP sprite into a 3D rendered character, and then have all the I don't know, foibles, if you want to call them that, all the pitfalls that come with taking an art piece, a style, and then converting it to another art style. And then you kind of get like those really kind of weird, kind of uncanny valley things, you know, where you've got textures wrapped around a surface that doesn't have any deformation. So it's like a human realistic face texture graphic plastered over a, you know, a capsule, you know.
Yeah,
and it looks weird, and a lot of people don't care about that. I mean, I think, you know, we're here in Fortnite Friday, and you look at some of the silly stuff that comes around in Fortnite, and you're like, why would you do that? You know, but it's just like, you know, if it's fun, then I guess it's fine, you know.
Exactly.
But
and it's testing as well, you know. There's so much testing that has to be done just to get that feedback, to know, well, did that work or not? Did they like it or not? And I think Fortnite, my God, they've done so much of that. It's insane. I mean, they've had the Marvel people, they've had the DC people, they've had everything you can imagine in there. Currently, it's Lego and car racing. That's, you know, they're one of, for me personally, one of the most impressive Web 2 metaverses that I've come across.
I mean, there's a reason so many people play it. There's definitely that sandbox appeal. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but when you went over to play in your buddy's sandbox, you know, there really weren't rules on what you could do with that. You know, you could make that sandbox into anything. You know, it could be a kingdom of elves and dwarves. It could be you know, a toxic pool of swamp sludge with monsters and, you know, Swamp Thing, and you know, usually had like He-Man figures that got sand in their joints and stuff like that and never worked good again afterwards. But, you know, you still had fun, you know, at the end of the day. And we're in the business of making games, and making games is about allowing players to play with them. So one of the problems I have with a lot of games is, like, when somebody figures out a way to play with the game that's contrary to the way the designers set it up, they usually try and put really strong kibosh on it. You know, like, nope, we're like banning that and blah, blah, blah. And Fortnite didn't do that. You know, when they first started, I remember the beta call, and I actually you know, filled out an application to beta test that, because I like the idea of an asymmetrical survival game. And it was, you know, they had these creeps kind of things that kind of came out at night, and you had to build your base with your companions and defend against it. But then people started like attacking each other's bases and stuff like that. And instead of being like, okay, no PvP, blah, 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 they're just like, whoa, wait a second. 95% of our players are doing this with the game. Maybe we should be building that way. And they did. And they built probably one of the biggest successes in video game history, you know. You know, alongside things like Minecraft and Dota, in terms of, you know, what they accomplished with very, very kind of humble beginnings. And to have a huge corporation like Epic at the helm and able to deliver that is just a testament to who was working on that project at the time. So mad props to them, obviously.
Indeed.
Because you know, working in those big corporate environments and stuff, you have a lot of people who you kind of are beholden to. You know, you have a huge number of players. You've got your shareholders, you've got your executives, and there's a lot of people kind of staring down at you. And that was a huge decision to go that direction. Mad props.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying there. It's too many people forget, in my opinion, in the gaming sector, to really listen to their community and act on what they're asking for. I feel like that is why there's such a big crevice that has started to open up, And I truly believe a lot of the Web2 games, unless they make the right changes, are just going to get swallowed up in time.
Yeah.
And I think, giving the power back to the gamer, explaining about this amazing new technology that comes with all these additional benefits, it's critical to the future of Web3 gaming, or just gaming, as we like to say anyway. But
I think we talked about that before in one of our previous discussions, how there's not going to be an evolution to Web3 gaming as a separate entity. It's just, we're on this track where games are going to be required to offer things like DAO governance for their communities. The idea of node generation for your in-game economy. I mean, there are some pretty unethical practices happening in Web2 gaming, gaming off-chain, let's say. And a lot of those can be fixed with just, decentralized databases, regulation, etc. But, the biggest kind of foible I see in the Web2 space right now is the idea of hard currency. And it's not that you shouldn't have hard currencies in a game. It's just that all the hard currencies that we currently see in games are highly centralized. They're more centralized than any other currency that we can think of. And more often than not, the value of those currencies has been changed on the holders of those currencies. Whether it's for their benefit or not, it's definitely without their consent. And it's just a nature of the beast, and everyone is kind of accepted it as, okay, that's what it is. I'm buying funny money, and if the game collapses or I stop playing the game, that funny money is now useless. And we've kind of set ourselves up that this is acceptable, like this is okay. And I don't think it is.
No, it's not.
And I don't think it has to be either. So the idea that we're setting up a hard currency that's generated by our NFTs. So anytime somebody buys a currency inside of our game, it will be taken from a pool of resources that have been generated by our holders. And in return for that, those holders are rewarded for that service. And that's infinitely more fair, transparent, and safe than the alternative, which is just here's funny money.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with that. I mean, one thing that I did want you to do for us as well, Gabriel, is just talk through. You've got like 3 different games and game modes with New Spirits, and just explain to people. Anyone can go and download and install this on their mobile device right now. Yeah,
right now,
completely free to play. And just talk us through all of the different game modes that you've got. We'll try and share some footage of the gameplay as well while you're talking us through it.
Sure. So the 3 games that we have up live now, there's New Adventure, which is basically, this was our simplest, lowest common denominator, easiest out the door. It's basically the Google Dinosaur offline game. with the added bit of sliding, but it showcases our artwork and our character. And I mean, that was the purpose of these first 3 games, was to show people a taste of that world. And this is kind of our most competitive game, because it has a score that, the longer you make it through the level, the higher your score. And it's the only one of our games that has that kind of variable skill-based scoring in it. And, as I mentioned, we didn't want to have a competitive game, but we were thinking about having, ghost runs. I don't remember if you remember back in the day, Mario Kart used to be able to play against a ghost cart,
Oh,
and
yeah.
In the time trials.
Yeah, I remember it, man.
Ori and the Blind Forest, or actually it was Ori and the Will-O-Wisps, had a really good ghost mode where you got to follow, somebody who was doing the time trial ahead of you, who'd done a score before, and it was really cool. And so I really like that ability to kind of have that multiplayer element without the burden of having, you know, huge multiplayer server, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So New Adventure is just a fun, you know, challenge. A lot of people played it and got insane, like over like 3,000 on the score, which is like playing it for like, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 minutes of gameplay, you know, and just like every single press of the button has to be like on point. And then there's this one. This is Flora's Toxic. There's a rising cloud of toxicity that's coming up the tree, and you have to rise to the top, escape the cloud, and get to like a rainfall altar, and the rainfall like kind of saves you. And then there's of course Vine Runner, which we saw just a couple minutes ago or a couple seconds ago, and it's kind of like Temple Run, but you can go all the way upside down, all the way around, and it's a fun little runner game. We definitely want to open this up in the near future to user generated content, so people can build their own levels, stuff like that. So you have, you know, passive high risk, passive low risk. Excuse me. And but all these games are single player, and that was because we didn't have the time, the resources, you know, to get multiplayer up and running in a time that was expected for us to release a game and to have something on the market. And so we stuck with single player in the early stages just to get things out there. And we were kind of unsurprised when the majority of our feedback came back and was like, well, these are great. These are fun. I really enjoyed them. But, you know, it's just not sticky enough for me to come back day after day to play this. If I could come back and play with Fun Show, you know, if we could be, you know, marching across the field, you know, like, you know, carrying these seedlings and, you know, tossing them to each other and jumping over crevasses and stuff like that to reforest our world, you know, that could be something that could be super fun. I'd like to play with other people. And so that's kind of what we're doing at the moment is we're working towards multiplayer. And the next game that's coming is kind of a mix up between, I don't know if, golf and capture the flag is kind of what I've settled on.
Sounds interesting. Are we talking like golf versus capture the flag straight away? I'm thinking Call of Duty. So okay.
So you have to run and you have to catch these seedlings. And once you've caught the seedling, they're too heavy to run around with. So you got to toss it. So you kind of get like this, you know, golf, you know, range, you know, height, you know, this kind of meter thing where you can punt them essentially. And you have to get them across the field into a goal where they can plant themselves and become a tree.
That's pretty cool.
And so the problem is once you've tossed them and they land, they start running around again. So you got to catch them again. And so what you want to do ideally is throw it to your buddy who catches it rather than lets it hit the ground, and then he can throw it to the next person. So you can kind of play it like ultimate frisbee almost.
That's pretty cool though. I like that concept.
And so yeah, that's kind of that's the game we're working on next. It's our fourth mini game. It's taking longer than we would hope, but again, it's, you know, there's so much that goes into a multiplayer game that I don't think a lot of people realize how many challenges there are, and just how much time it does take to make a fun game. But hopefully here in the next couple months or so, we'll have something playable. You know, at least you know, an alpha in the app that people can try out. Might not be multiplayer yet, but it'll be like, you know, you'll get a taste of what's coming.
No, that's good. That's good. I'm actually looking forward to playing that kind of capture the flag and throw. Well, if you've been watching any of our previous live streams, you'll know that we're all about throwing characters from one place to another. That's one of our textbook moves that Iqbal and some of the guys at IQ Protocol have done. We've released reels and all sorts. Hilarious, but I think that's definitely something that would work well. I mean, are you thinking that is there going to be an earning capability with that multiplayer mode as well for NFT
So-
owners?
So we want to set all of the earnings outside of the actual gameplay itself.
Got you. Okay.
And we've done this. We've separated the Web3 portal from the game itself. So the Web3 portal has all of your collection. It has staking. It'll have the node generation for the currency. And so the more people who purchase things inside of the game, of course, the more you'll earn from those node generations as that pool will be increasing. So they're tied to each other, but they're quite separate. And we wanted to make sure that the game was fun and playable for game's sake, for the player's sake. I think as soon as you have the ability to earn something by playing the game, I think you run the risk of turning it into a job. And that's what we saw with the big kind of flagship game everybody kind of touts as like the be all end all of Web3, play to earn with Axie Infinity. It just wasn't fun enough without that earning. I actually know a guy, he had like 6 Axies in his stable, and he was trying to get his 12-year-old kid to play it. You know, he's like, I will pay you blah blah blah, you know, like half of whatever I earn off of these characters when I sell them, if you level them up or whatever. And the kid was like, yeah, it's just not fun. So he couldn't pay his kid to play it, you know?
Yeah, you're in trouble at that point, aren't you? Let's be honest.
I mean,
You know?
But everybody's like, well, they had, you know, what was it, 20 million people or something like it was a huge number of players, you know,
crazy.
on scholarships and everything. And there were people who were earning a livable wage off of that game, which is pretty freaking cool.
It is.
You know,
but it's like you said though, what it comes down to is, why are they there? Are they there because the video game's amazing and they enjoy playing it, or are they there purely for economic purposes to earn? And if you can kind of get somewhere in the middle, and I think that's one of the things that I love about what you're doing and what we're doing too, is our number one priority is build a fun, engaging, addictive game. Listen to the community, give them the power back. And I think the more feedback you get, and you get that part of it right, if you've then got additional earning capabilities on the Web3 side of things, that's only going to massively enhance it even more for you on the success of what you're likely to see. So I love that you're taking that approach.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we kicked off. We had a random call set up by somebody. I think we met on somebody else's space.
We did,
and we just like, we need to have a call, and
Gabriel, do you want to on your 5G? Do you want to give it a go on trying to turn on your video to see if it works? Just see. Go on. Let's fingers crossed. Let's hope that it works.
I think it will work.
Okay, let me turn on video here.
The big reveal.
All right.
Boom. There it is.
Yes.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, go on.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Still going good. All right. I was just paranoid to turn it on and have everything crash on us again.
It's so good. So good.
But
so, go on.
When we kicked off that first talk, man, I think we scheduled like a 15-minute meeting, and I think we ended up talking for an hour. You know, it was just like, and I think we would have kept going if we hadn't had to go to some. I had another meeting. I think you had another meeting, and but it's fun meeting people in the space who are passionate about this space and about what we can do in this space to elevate and bring more power, more tools, more insight, more control, more ownership, all of these things to gamers. And I think that some of the biggest successes in gaming in my lifetime have been games that have allowed a heavy amount of UGC. Ark Survival is something that we actually probably mentioned in
one of my
our first meeting. It's wild how much effort they put into rewarding like server they had like a prize. I think they still do have a prize pool, and it's like the top 10 community servers get a portion of this prize pool every month. And it's a significant prize pool. I think it's a couple $1,000s. So you can earn a couple $1,000s a month by running a really quality server on Ark Survival, which is pretty cool. It's like when I was a kid playing video games, my parents were always like, "You're never going to be able to make anything out of your life by playing video games."
And then, look at me now, Mom and Dad. I love it.
And then Dendy won the TI and brought home like 4 million to his little village in Russia, or not Russia, but like off Russia. And he just changed his life and everyone else's life in his circle of family and friends by just being the best Dota player in the world, which is crazy. Like never in my, like when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I would love to make video games, but it's too hard. There's been so many tools that have come along that make that easier. And granted, it's still hard, man. It's still super difficult. I was talking to somebody about, creative endeavors and creating art, essentially, because creating games is artwork. As long as you're not, just copying somebody else and, putting something out there to make money. But that happens everywhere. You can go to a flea market and find a bunch of knockoff paintings for, 25 cents on sale. But you have kind of the easiest or the simplest version of creating something, which is writing a book, right? It's just you, a pencil and paper, or a word processor or something like that. And even that industry is so multifaceted, and you have so many other people working on that. You have the writer, you have the editor, you have the peer readers, you have the publisher, you have and like you just read the acknowledgments of a fantasy novel these days, and it's like 3 or 4 pages of thanks for this guy for putting me up in his house, thanks to that guy for these girls, they were so awesome, they were reading this crap every day, and it was terrible draft, but they got through it and they made the amazing book that it is today. So even a book, something you think is super simple, is not. And then you have film, you have animation, which requires multiple people working towards a single goal. And then when you want to make a game, you have to take all of that into account. You have to take the 2D, the 3D, the timeline of the events, and then you have to take it into that 5th dimension, that interaction between the player, the consumer, and you have to account for them and what they're doing inside of your game. It's wild. It's super difficult, and I really enjoy that process, and I enjoy most working with all those people in that endeavor and trying to make that game with other people, because even if I did it all myself, I wouldn't come up with the same thing as we can collectively.
No, I'm completely with you there.
To take that a step further, Web3 is going to allow us to take those games outside, those assets, those NFTs, whatever. We're going to be able to take those outside of those games and bring them into other games, and it's just going to it's going to be pretty cool. I think
it is. It's going to be amazing.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It is. I mean, the beautiful thing about where we are as people that, I hate using all of these buzzwords, but people that are in Web3, GameFi, whatever you want to call it, it's what this comes down to is actually what is the impact going to be for the user, and why are we so passionate about it, and what else can we do to try and enhance people's experiences and give them back that power. It's like The reason we do this Fortnite Friday live stream is we understand the power of Fortnite. We understand how much people watch it, but it's very, very difficult to try and have a conversation with an individual person that's a gamer and sell the dream of what Web3 is and all of the functionality and technology.
Right.
But when you show someone a Web2 game that is very, very hot, it's so easy to just sit there and say, oh, yeah, you see this backpack that this guy's running around with now. How cool would it be if you could just send that to one of your friends? Or you could stick it onto like a backpack marketplace and sell it and actually get something back for all of this money that you've been constantly spending on DLCs.
We're gonna be in a place where you're gonna be able to print that backpack like IRL. You know,
exactly.
And this is kind of a side note to that. Our NFTs are 3D printable.
That's cool. That is actually cool.
So
like
I'm not at my home. I'm not in my office. I don't have any of my test models, but I have test printed a few recently on a home 3D printer, on a resin printer, and they come out awesome, man. It's so cool. I mean, because we build them to be high poly. You know, they have this kind of cute toy kind of feel, and like we just keep the high polys around, and if people want to print them, they can print them, and I love that. But that's going to happen with everything. You're not going to have, you know, a high poly model to print off a high poly STL. You know, there's going to be AI tools that will do that for you. Say what you want about, you know, the evils of AI, but I think there's some pretty amazing advancements in things that are going to help us in the future. I just, you know, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, because that's a whole conversation about, you know, responsible use and ethical use of the images that have trained AI, which is namely why we haven't used or won't use any AI in our game. Other than the fact that we have an algorithm that creates the new spirits. So all of the assets that we have, all the parts, all of the Mr. Potato Head pieces, if you want to call them that, they kind of go into a library, and our algorithm picks all the pieces based on rarity, based on the number of them that we have created in circulation, and assembles them all to the head. And then the designer goes and looks at it and be like, "Ooh, that's ugly. Put that in the never mint that," and it goes in the trash. But it will never regenerate that same, you know, messed up Nunu spirit. The same for any that we put in the mint pile. So this one is mintable. It goes to the mint pile. The generator will never generate that same NFT again. So we have guaranteed one of ones in our collections, even though we can make, you know, millions of NFTs. And that's actually something that's coming hopefully shortly after multiplayer, is the ability for players to take traits, take parts from what they find inside of the game, and then kind of build their own Nunu spirit and then mint that. Of course, if somebody's already minted it before, you won't be able to mint it. So there's a little bit of that kind of FOMO, that you know, first past the post kind of, if I get this asset first, do I mint it now? Or do I run the risk of not being able to mint that character, you know, later down the road? But I love it. It also gives people the ability to kind of create their own world, you know. So like user generated content, like I said, it's super, super important.
It's the way forward, without question. Yep. I love it. So I think first thing to check is, how's your Fortnite getting on?
I think my internet. Basing on the Wi-Fi connection from this.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no.
37%, unfortunately.
37. Okay,
that explains the problems with the stream now.
It actually could, because if you would, if it was using a lot of bandwidth to do the download, I think that's it. But what we will do is carry on speaking with you, ask you a couple more questions. Iqbal and I will go on to Fortnite and have a game.
Nice.
But we'll have to invite you back on again to give you a chance to go up against that leaderboard. But while we're just loading all of that up, one of my questions that I had for you, and I suppose it's different for everyone because it's creative control, but where did the inspiration of the characters come from? Because when I look at the characters, immediately what came to me was, do you remember Aku Aku from the Crash Bandicoot? You know, the mask. That's what came to my mind straight away. I was like, no, they look a lot like the Aku Aku. But I'm intrigued to know.
Yeah. So in the early days when we were putting together the business plan for Tater Games, the studio, we had an Overcooked type game, and it was goblins. And the goblins were the characters, and the goblins were running around to the various cooking stations. They weren't cooking things; they were creating traps to defend against first level adventurers that were coming to grind them for XP and loot. And so it was like a base defense, but it was totally Overcooked style. And we did some market research, and we couldn't get the goblins looking cute enough. And we were just like, okay, this isn't going to make it on mobile. And we needed a character. We needed a conflict that would be more kind of open, more accessible, let's say. And we were like, okay, what about nature versus industry? And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. You know, it's something that's close to my, my heart and stuff like that. And so they became tree spirits. And the embodiment of our industry was a beaver. So so these beavers were coming into this invading this forest, and these little tree trunk headed things were building traps to keep the beavers out. And the beavers were coming in with chainsaws and wood choppers and like the timber saw thing from Dota, with a little beaver sitting in the cockpit pilot. I mean, we ditched the beavers because the beavers it was just kind of weird. And we realized that nature didn't need to have this embodiment of an evil villain or something like that. There was enough bad stuff happening in the environment, such as toxicity and sludge and stuff like that. And also we didn't want to have the new spirits being killed or dying or being sawed up by beavers. This wasn't a Conker's Bad Fur Day kind of endeavor, which maybe could have been cool. Maybe we should have gone that direction.
I don't know. It'd have been entertaining, I can tell you that much for free.
I don't know if you guys ever played Conker's Bad Fur Day, but it was the best multiplayer game that was ever released on the N64. It was amazing.
Oh, okay.
It was back in the GoldenEye days, and it was so much better than GoldenEye. Conker's Bad Fur Day, and it was totally irreverent.
I've still got an N64.
Sophomoric.
I've got loads of them.
Juvenile. It was. At one point, you're fighting this giant pile of shit that's singing opera and putting sweet corn in his for teeth, and you're throwing rolls of toilet paper at him, and you end up flushing him down the toilet.
Amazing.
And
that's crazy.
The whole premise for your adventure is you're a squirrel and you're out at the bar and you get too drunk and you get lost on your way home and you piss off some monk or something like that and end up in this weird extra dimension. But great. The multiplayer game was awesome. They had a beach mode where you had the Frenchies, which were little gophers. This is like little 3D, like they must have had like 25 polygons or something like that, it was back in those days, so these little gophers, and they didn't have any weapons or anything. All their job was to do is run up this beach and try to get to the trucks that were underneath the bunkers. And in the bunkers were the evil teddies with a Z, and the teddies were basically like little Nazi teddy bears that were like animated by this evil entity, and they had a bazooka, a sniper rifle, and a chain gun.
Chain gun as well. Awesome.
And so you could be playing split screen 4-player. You could have 2 people playing Frenchies and 2 people playing Teddies, and like the Teddies would be trying to shoot you as you're running up the beach, and spraying his ass everywhere.
That's mad.
And when
it's crazy.
Yeah.
No, go on. Sorry.
It was a wild game, super fun, but like a spiritual like predecessor to games like this, for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's weird, like as soon as you started saying a lot of the things, you know, like giant pile of crap and, you know, all of this other stuff. Back in the day, those types of games were, it was just normal to see that kind of thing. Like, I don't think that would be a game that would do too well these days, but still, nonetheless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but then you had Goat Simulator. I mean, Goat Simulator did amazing.
Yeah, it did.
And
I mean, my kids
that was pretty
love that
irreverent
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely strange.
So yeah, but I mean, the wonderful thing about games is there is some extra space, you know, that irreverence.
I agree. And I don't know if you remember one, I think it was called Splatterhouse. And it was like, I'm convinced that this game was the inspiration for the Jason Voorhees character with the hockey mask. I don't know if you ever played that. They had that.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, the machines that you had, they were called Neo Geo, and it was like the big arcade machine. And honestly,
was it Sega Genesis?
It could have been. It was just they had different names depending on the location, but it was they were called Neo Geo, what we were playing on. But the game was so good, and I just remember being blown away by it as a child.
It was published on Sega. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you look back at them today, and it's kind of like you can't even believe that you played a lot of these games. Right. You know, you look at the graphics and all that kind of thing, but I have to admit, it's
Mad Magazine. What was it? Trash Pail Kids, Garbage Pail Kids.
Oh, Garbage Patch Kids.
Garbage Patch Kids. That's what.
Yeah. I remember that. Whoa.
Are you getting shot, Poncho?
No, there's a kid here though. I'm just not sure where he has gone. Hopefully he can't see me and he's going to run out. Yeah, he's running about. Garbage Patch Kids. I love that.
Mad Magazine, Garbage Pail Kids. Yeah, man.
So, what made you go with the name Nunu?
So, they were forest spirits before, and you know, we dipped into some inspo from like Miyazaki with the kodamas and stuff like that. You know, where the little head rattle things and the spirits that they had in their spirit realm and spirited away, and so we were kind of looking for something that would kind of feel like it would be folklore-y. And whenever we'd show somebody here in Slovakia, the characters, they would go, "Oh, Nunu," and we'd be like, like Nunu in Slovak is like what you say to little babies, like "goo goo" or "gaga," you know, like, "Oh, it's so cute."
Yeah. Right. I'm with you.
So we're like, okay, so these are Nunu spirits.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I like it. It's cool.
Which we later found out that apparently in some parts of India, Nunu is slang for penis. Like little boys.
That is very true.
Yeah. So we're like,
you know,
shit.
It's still funny, and that's what I like.
Yeah.
There's a different way to tell the story.
But at the same time, we're like, well, we can't just change the name because it's a slang word for, you know, because anything is going to be a slang word for a tallywhacker somewhere.
This is true. Yeah. Very true. So, just trying to think as well, just while we're playing this, what if there's anything that jumps out at you in the gameplay that you're looking at that you think, well, if they did this, surely it would be better for the users with what technologies exist today? Please do feel free to talk about it as well, because I feel like skins in particular is such. Oh, I just got taken out.
I am on my way.
Yeah, there's a kid dancing on me now. He's got a head for, well, it looks like a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what we were saying earlier about, the ability to like.
And I'm down.
Create things that aren't aesthetically in line with, the art aesthetic that you want inside of your game, but as soon as you open up your game to user generated content, you just have to like realize that somebody is going to make a map that looks like a dick.
I hear you. This is
like the first thing you do. You're like, oh, I can draw. Like, I can draw. Like,
yeah, it's those things where like boys will be boys, right?
True. Yeah, it is true.
And girls have dirtier minds than the rest of us. So.
I think it's one of those things, isn't it, where once you've got over that initial silliness, people actually do create some amazing things. Right. But the one thing about this game that I've noticed, and I was the guy that my kids were playing this game, and there's, oh, Dad, do you want to play Fortnite with me? And I'm like, Fortnite? I'm not playing that. I'm a Call of Duty player, I don't play with these, menial cartoon graphics. I'm playing with 4K.
Wow. Okay.
But unlucky, mate. But the reality was, from my side, that I didn't realise what I was missing out on. And when I started playing it with my kids, I started realising, like, hang on a minute, I can play Call of Duty Zombies in creative mode, and it's just set up like Nuketown, the map, and things like this. And that, to me, was when I realised the power of UGC massively, and with Minecraft and Roblox, etc. And I think that's the future. I think with what we're building, you have to invite them.
We've been in some spaces with Shrapnel, I think, collectively recently, and an extraction shooter is such a cool idea. I mean, we saw it back with Ready Player One. When that film came out, it was like, oh, you go to this PvP zone, and like if you pop, you pop, and you lose all your shit. Like, that's why it's risky, and that's kind of fun. I mean, it can be devastating too, I suppose. If you spend a lot of time and you had some server lag or something like that led to your death, you'd be inconsolable.
Of course, but without question.
And there's definitely an unhealthy side to those types of things, addiction and gambling and stuff like that. And
of course,
as a developer, we also have to look at our game can rely on some tools to make it stickier, to make people want to come back and play. The longer you keep them in the game, the higher chance you are of converting them to a paid player, etc. But
of course,
there were a lot of cases where gotcha mechanics, for example, came out and were very rapidly banned in a lot of countries just because of how predatory they were. And it was like this huge kind of like FOMO builder, and really built off of the sunken cost fallacy. And man, it's so we want to build something that's healthy, because we don't want to play things that are unhealthy. So I mean, I think being able to moderate and set things such that you're comfortable with your online interactions is going to become more and more difficult. Streamers and stuff like that have to worry about being swatted on live streams now, because
Yeah.
it'll be entertaining to watch them get swatted in the middle of their live stream. I mean, this is sick, man. This is some crazy shit.
It is. It happens though.
So
I've seen it.
So yeah, I mean, I think some of the things that decentralization and ledgers help is to protect that kind of data. And it's another thing that I think AI is going to help with, even though I think it's going to lead to a lot of frustrations. And is just protecting your own personal identity.
Yeah.
Although I'm not sure what protections Fortnite has in place, but I think they're pretty adamant about player safety, from what I know of Epic Games. And
I think it's one of those things that you can do anyway nowadays with obviously just reporting players. But I'm not sure how well that works. You know, in terms of if you do face any sort of
consequences.
Let's say, yeah. If you face consequences, but if you do face any sort of abuse, etc., of course you can report the player. But I still think that you want to try and step in before that whole abuse factor goes in.
Right. Well, so here's one thing that I'm seeing coming from Web3, and that's a soulbound avatar, soulbound account, essentially. And that soulbound account will basically be your avatar, your entity that you interact with online. You know, so I know that in Dota, like sandbagging was a huge thing they cracked down on this year. Again,
Yeah.
they had a Gabe Newell's, like, what is it, coal in the stocking, like thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think you want to protect player experiences, and I think that's.
Sorry, go on.
I just think soulbound tokens will be a way to basically do that, such that, you know, if this is your soulbound token, this is how you get it. You know, it's a certain amount of value. If you do get reported enough that soulbound token is no longer usable in this particular game, or you can keep using it on your own in private matches or private lobbies, but you can't participate anymore in the public, you know, in the public spaces. You know, you're kind of you're done. You're on probation, or you're banned, or whatever. And if you need that soulbound token to play the game, then maybe that does create more consequence for being a salty, you know, teabagger.
No, I completely agree. I mean, we're starting to see this more and more. For example, you've now got recordings that take place as well within certain games. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily the cure, but it's a step further to help make sure that people are more responsible about what they say and how they interact. Because what you've got to remember is, I'm a 42-year-old guy, and if I get annoyed, maybe my choice of language might be a little bit different to an 8-year-old child that might be playing in the same game as me. They need to be protected. And if there isn't at least environments or games that can offer those kinds of spaces to ensure that children are safe when they're playing video games, and adults at that, you know, have to add that in as well, because not all adults like foul language and, you know, all the rest of it. It's just, for me, something that's so important that I feel all gaming development companies are going to have to look into this.
Well, the way we will do it when multiplayer comes is similar to the way that Brawl Stars takes care of it. They don't have a way to directly chat in game. You know, if you want to set up a server or a Discord, you know, TeamSpeak or something like that, you can do that. But it's not something that we have the resources to mediate, essentially. So we just can't have it in the game. You know, you can have emotes and stuff like that, which do a good job of controlling, you know, what you can, you know, how kind of salty you can be, how dickish you can be inside the game. But even in Brawl Stars, I noticed that a lot of people are using the red thumbs down after they, you know, make a kill or something like that. Like
yeah.
You know, whether or not they mean like, oh, you suck or whatever, or get good news, but it has that same feeling, you know.
Yeah, I know
So
exactly what you mean.
even with those emote systems, like, you know, if that emote evolves into something that's universally being used to communicate something as, you know, you suck, you know, uninstall, kill yourself. You know,
But that's what I mean. I think there needs to be the line drawn between having fun and then bullying. Because there is a close border to it, because especially obviously teens, you're having fun, etc. And it's just about where does it go
and
from
the tolerance between a, you know, a group of people who are used to that versus somebody who's brand new to the game and is not used to that. You know, it's not something that we often allow into our heads. You know, the consideration of others in games like, you know, Fortnite, where you're hidden behind an avatar. You know, no one knows who you are.
Exactly.
You know, even your avatar has a ski mask on. You know, so it's like you're like several layers of anonymous. So it's like you know, people driving in cars, and you know what they do to other people while driving because they feel anonymous. They would never do that to them crossing in the street face to face, but put a pane of glass and in a door panel between the two of you, and you know, you can yell out the window, "Eat a bag of dicks," you know.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's almost, for me, when I look at it, is I know that this isn't just going to get fixed up, but what is important is that we're having conversations to help move things to that area of interest that I feel has been neglected for so long. And the massive thing that I will say is, for everybody that's involved in any form of gaming, you know, you have to understand that there are things that you can say or do that will dramatically impact others, and you've got to take into consideration that there might be someone that's young, someone that's vulnerable, someone that's socially awkward, someone that's got mental health problems, whatever it may be, that's in your game and you don't realize it. But at the same time, I also understand something that what is his name? He's from Wagme Games. He said, and I thought, actually, he's got a point there too. Gaming, to an extent, there is shit talking in it, but it's about what games you do that in, what that age demographic is, and knowing all the information beforehand, I think is going to be a big thing for the future.
Yeah,
for sure. I almost see something as a coming as like a filter. So like say yeah, you are an 8-year-old playing in Fortnite, and you don't want to hear, or your parents set your settings such that you know, you won't be able to hear swear, you know, curse words or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I just think there aren't enough people spending enough time on trying to fix these problems. That's what it is for me. It's been a responsibility that all game developers should have really gone out of their way to protect people, because since the dawn of COVID, we've seen mental health problems in younger adults and children go through the roof. And I've seen, if I'm honest, I've personally seen one development company that's very well known do something drastic to try and help, and it's still not fixed it anywhere near, because it's as simple as, oh, you've just been booted off, we listened to the recording, we're not happy, and they just set up another account. Now, yes, there's some pushback to be able to say, well, you might lose everything that you've already bought on that account, but nonetheless, I just think it's a major issue, you know? So I'm just thinking, who is out there that's willing to, as a big game developer that's in the Web 2 native world, what are they willing to do? How much do they actually care about the users? It's one of the things that's driven our passion in creating Project Lambo, because I've experienced it myself, and I know many other parents have too, that toxicity and online bullying, it's a problem. It's a problem whether you're on Facebook. It's a problem whether you're playing Fortnite. It's a problem everywhere you look. So we've got to find ways to create safe environments for these people to just have fun and play video games without getting all of that experience. That, look, it can be as simple as 1 or 2 words that get said, whether they're out of jest or not, but it hurts inside and can affect someone mentally. And I just think it's a huge area.
I think that the big thing is making sure that you're giving advocacy to players to deal with any sort of harassment. Simple tools for, I don't want to play with this guy, and just like all of a sudden, like, I don't have to have a reason why I don't want to play with him. Oh, I don't like this guy, he's doing something stupid. Like, just I want to not play with this guy again. It's like I don't want to disparage anyone from a certain region, but I know from playing Deep Rock Galactic that if I log into a game that's being from certain locations, that it's going to be a different kind of game. Like it's going to be played differently. And so I tend to avoid those regions. If you set if you have enough data in your profile, in your sold down token, for example, that says who you like to play with, who you don't like to play with, what you don't like inside of your games, you may not even ever come across those individuals, such that you don't have to ever deal with that sort of harassment, beyond that initial setting. Like, I don't want to play with this, I don't want to play with that, I don't want to play with like 15-year-olds to 18. I don't want to play with that group of people because I don't have good experiences playing with them. And whether or not that's a prejudice or not, I think just that advocacy gives you a level of control that makes dealing with those issues easier. If the worst thing you can have is when you don't have agency and you can't deal with something, and you're like, well, my only recourse is to uninstall the game and not play it anymore. That's where it gets. That's really shit.
It is. I must admit, Gabriel, as ever, okay, every time we speak, I mean, we could do this live stream for another 4 hours, but I'm assuming that, unfortunately, you're probably not going to have that kind of time. I know that we haven't as well, but I just want to thank you for having a fantastic conversation with us, for sharing Nunu Spirits and the great things that are coming with the multiplayer edition. Please, everyone, if you haven't already, go and try these games out. They're brilliant. They're good fun. They're addictive. They're free to play. And if you are interested in acquiring one of the NFTs, you can also know that there's going to be some trees that get planted, which are good for the environment. Check out their website. As always carry out your own research and due diligence. But I can tell you with 100% certainty in my heart what Gabriel's doing and what we're doing together with Project Lambo and Nunu Spirits. We are very excited for the future, and I would love for you to come on and actually help us try and win a game of Fortnite, because both of ours were terrible today.
If I had been planning ahead, if I had been smart about it, I would have had it loaded up prior. I was like, it can't be that bad. It can't be that bad.
You were,
And then,
in fairness to you, you were full of
I should have
COVID.
known as well that I'm on rural Wi-Fi, and oh yeah. So anyway,
It's all
I
good.
will come back on for sure, and we'll get some Fortnite in.
Perfect.
And hopefully we can do it from my office as well, where I have a better rig
sure.
and stable Wi-Fi. Really appreciate coming on. Always enjoy talking with you. Fun show.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And definitely looking towards the future of what is going to become of gaming, and the Web3 features that we're working on now and how those are going to play a role in that is pretty fun stuff. So
100%.
Definitely a good time.
So, indeed, really enjoyed it. Hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you for everyone tuning in. Thank you, Iqbal. Thank you, Gabriel. And we will catch up with you guys in the next one. As always, if anyone has got any questions, leave them in the comments. We will come back to you. If there's anything specific for Gabriel, where's the best place for people to follow you and to be able to follow Nunu Spirits? Gabriel, can you still hear us? You're muted now.
Muted yourself.
Now I'm muted.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now
I was coughing, so I threw myself on mute to cough.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you on whichever platform is easiest for you?
Discord, Telegram. We have both of those. The links are on our website, nunuspirits.io. That's the easiest place to kick it off. nunuspirits.io.
I'm just going to pop that up.
So yeah, also the download links are right there at the top too as well. So if you want to give the game a shot, they're up there. It's just single player mode at the moment, but as I said, it gives you a taste of what we're shooting for.
So that was
characters,
aka Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. So just confirm for me, is that correct? nunuspirits.io.
Yep.
Perfect. Any people, go check it out, download it, give them feedback, and just enjoy playing games. And if anybody's horrible to you, then, well, it won't happen on Nunu Spirits anyway. But if anyone's horrible to you anywhere else, let us know, okay? Because we're paying for this stuff, guys.
Right. We're gonna set up the Fun Show squad for anti-bullying.
You know it. Anti-bullying. And all we'll do is we'll just make them feel guilty. We won't be bullies back to them, but just like, ultimate guilt. How could you?
Terribly disappointed.
4 8-year-old. Exactly that.
Little Timmy hasn't been able to sleep for 2 days. He keeps waking up in the middle. How could you?
Exactly. Well, no, pleasure to have you on, and we will catch up with you guys very soon for the next Fortnite Friday, all things gaming with Project Lambo. Thanks a lot, Gabriel. Cheers for tuning in. Cheers.
Thanks, bye-bye. Sorry for the technical difficulties.